Hey everyone, it's your boy Monkey. I'm going to show you how to do the Zarpus melee method, which you can actually in turn use it in verz phase 2, but primarily it's for Zarpus in this video. Now I'm going to have you install the plugin hub visual metronome, go to the settings for it, and make yours the same as mine in terms of the tick count, the show metronome tick number, the show tick number above your head, which will end up looking like this. The reason for that one is so that you don't have to take your eyes off the middle of your screen. You can just focus on your character and the boss at the same time. Now, there's going to be one thing I'm going to be referencing in this video, and it's going to be called the active tick. Now, the active tick will happen as soon as Zarpus becomes attackable, which you can see in this example. He became attackable on tick number 2. Or the other way to figure out when the active tick happens is anytime that he changes targets in the room, which you can tell when he changes targets by anytime that he turns and focuses someone else. That is always the active tick, and it will never change once you figure it out at the start of the fight, and it will always stay true to that. Now, the reason I'm focusing on mentioning that is because people tend to overthink this part. You really don't want to overthink it. Once you understand the cycle, once you see certain things happen, you always just want to stay true to what you're doing. So if you know that the active tick is always going to be on tick 2, you can figure out when to step back for the acid by just adding 2 ticks to whatever the active tick was. So as you can see, the active tick was 2, so I'm clicking back for the acid on 4, and it's always that. So anytime that you figure out the acid tick, anywhere that you're standing in the room when that acid tick happens, whatever tile you're standing on during that tick is going to be where acid will land, no matter what, and it's always going to be that. So that's why, as long as you know where you are in the cycle on what tick, you should never have a problem with where to mark acid or where to stand or where to click next. So I'm going to go a little bit slow with you guys and just kind of narrate what's going on. So send your specs. Active tick was on 2. I'm going to get my specs off, and then I'm going to start the cycle by clicking back on 4. And then I just got to remember that I can attack the tick after I step back. So after 4 would be 1. And it's just always that. I just lock myself in. I just know to click back on tick number 4. And then click back to attack the following tick. Now, as you can see in the text in the bottom left, the ticks on the overlay can change. So at some point, if you were to enter a raid and all of a sudden you notice that the tick count was on, let's say, 3, you're going to step back for acid on 1, because if you add 2 ticks to 3 in the tick cycle, it's just going to go 4 and then back to 1. And now 1 is going to be the acid tick, and 3 was your active tick, and then so on and so forth with the other numbers. So now, again, stepping back on 4, clicking back to attack on 1 because that's the following tick. Realistically, though, you can click to attack on any number that is not 4. So again, if you lose track of the cycle or you just don't know what you're doing at the moment, step back so that you don't mark acid on the melee tiles. Wait until you see a number that's not 4. Click to attack. And then you just know that you just can't be in melee distance whenever the number 4 is above your head or on the overlay. So in verz, it's just as simple, except it's just a little bit more punishing. So if you end up standing in melee range on the bad tick, she'll actually end up kicking you, which will launch you and then stun you in place, and then so on and so forth. Now, the difference between starting the verz off, or the verz P2 fight off, and starting off Zarpus in terms of finding the active tick and then the bad tick, verz, whenever she becomes attackable, she will not do any like animation or anything crazy, and it's actually going to be on a different tick than the actual active tick. So the actual active tick is going to happen whenever she starts to do her bounce, which you'll see in a second. This clip's actually a really good one because it will show so right there, those guys getting kicked. When they got kicked, that's when she should have started bouncing, but she started bouncing right there on tick number 2. So now, if you notice, every single time she bounces, it's always going to be tick number 2. Now, again, just like Zarpus's acid tick, all you have to do is just add 2 to the bounce tick. So now, you know that you just need to click away from her on tick number 4. So as you can see in this example, every single time the number 4 is above my head, I'm clicking on a different tile. So your yellow X needs to be the same time that the number 4 is above your head. So again, as you can see and follow, this is all I'm doing, and you just don't overthink it. You're going to find out what tick is happening whenever she bounces. Add 2, boom, focus on those 2 numbers. Realistically, you don't even have to focus on the active number the entire time. Once you find out the bad tick, that's the only tick that you have to really pay attention to. You never really have to think about anything else other than just knowing that you can't be in melee range on tick number 4 in this situation. And then the same thing, if you look at the bottom left, in terms of like if the tick were to change, follow that exact same guideline. And then as long as you just focus on those numbers and don't overthink it, you should have a great time in TOB. Also, TOA sucks, so